me and Aubrey were sitting in the living room. We had just bought this house in Mountain View, and the living room's completely empty. You know, we haven't paid for furniture or anything like that yet. And it's like 9 o'clock at night. I got back late from doing something, like some kind of commission work. And Aubrey's like sitting on the couch, and she's like 6 months pregnant, and was like, dude, what are we gonna do? Like, we need to make more money than what we're currently making, you know? And that was like the inflection point for me, where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make some calls and just try to see what I can get into. I don't even care what I get into. I'm just going to pursue providing for my family. And I felt like, honestly, that sounds like a scary step, like, you know, the whole abandoning your dreams to... I got my foot in the door at Glockner, and at the same time, it's funny because there's an overlap between these things. Like, I was also watching that series Abstract on Netflix. Do you remember that? And that like really struck me and spoke to me. It was Massimo Vanelli that designed like the identity system for the New York subway. You know, those real nice Helvetica letters on top of like big, bold colored circles. And just like, you know, it's an iconic part of New York today, what it looks like in a subway, all the signage and stuff like that. But he has this pretty infamous quote, which I latched onto, which is like, if you can design one thing, you can design anything.
Today we're talking to Connor Sherman, my twin brother, as well as the brand manager and creative mind behind the art, marketing, and culture efforts at the Glockner Family Enterprises. He goes by @ComebackCityKid on social media, and you might know him for that clean lettering, the hand-drawn designs and characters that you might be seeing him do. His Insta bio reads, River Rat with a Recorder. He runs the Local Legends podcast, as I'm sure most of you know. He's part of the PSKC 5:30 a.m. crew. Empire. Asterisk. Yeah. Connor, you and Chris were hitting like those 275-pound thrusters for reps at 3. I was like not even within 100 pounds of that. I'll just stick to them pull-ups.
Chris Real is also a maniac in residence. I love that guy.
He really is. He's just getting thicker every day. Connor is married to Aubrey Sherman, and they're the parents of 2 wonderful little girls, Olive and Sunny. Connor, welcome to the Underground, bro.
Thanks, man. Happy to contribute.
Cool. A couple warm-up questions. What is the most effective way to sell a car, Connor? Just come right out and say it. You know.
Pressure. One word. No,
I'm glad you started with that.
No. It's really like meeting the consumer with what they want. Whatever car dealer gives the consumer what they want, they win. Period. That's pretty much it. So obviously, cool. There's some nuance in that. But I think car dealers try to complicate it and massage it and put like a bump sticker when you arrive on the lot that's like $1,000 more than what it showed on the website, and all kinds of debauchery. I don't know. I want to use a PG word.
So service, really, just service.
Service, and we are like proud of that mantra. Just we succeed by serving.
I remember Derek Mosley saying something about when you're doing ads on Instagram, it's all about the offer. That is the only thing that matters, is the offer. Does that make sense? Isn't that like what you deliver? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. No, the offer is certainly a drawing factor, but people will also accept convenience or take convenience over a dollar amount. Like they'll pay for convenience kind of thing, you know? So that's where the service thing fits in, especially in the automotive industry. Just like any other industry. Someone can always do it cheaper. Someone can give you that char for cheaper. Even if it's $100, $1, you know? You could always lowball, and car dealers get in a bad habit of doing that to each other, like racing to the bottom.
Yeah, why is that bad? Why couldn't you just be like, well, down the street, hometown, we could give it for you for $500 less. Why won't you do that, Connor? Why doesn't that make sense?
Well, I guess we could then give it they could come back to us and get it for an additional $500 less, and then they could go back to hometown and go to. And there are people that do that, like visit 8 different locations and have an invoice for everyone, which I applaud their diligence in saving a couple $100. But if you're invested in the people that you're doing business with in like a small town setting like ours, then you should want them to succeed just like we want you to succeed, you know? And it should be a good service at a fair price. It'd be similar to like someone coming to you for a logo and like I'll give you $20, and you know it's like a big corporation or something to where they're making a lot of money off that brand image.
I won't be making logos anymore. I just won't be able to afford it. So it's reciprocal, right? That's business in general.
So that's just like localized economies in general, and that's what Glockner's a part of, is like these small town communities. And you should be doing business with people, like if they offer the service locally, then you should have the same vision. And this vision is that we all succeed together kind of thing. So they trust Glockner that we're giving them fair prices, and we can prove that to them and be transparent, show the taxes and fees, go above and beyond knowing what they want, and, you know, providing a good service and like showing them options. Like with your shopping experience, you know, Kevin kind of running you through the gambit. I think that might have been your first time buying a new car.
It was, yeah, definitely.
And so if we can provide good service, then people feel good about paying for that, just like good food restaurant that you want to tip more for, kind of thing.
Word. Completely a very relevant question, Connor. Will people buy cars in the Metaverse?
Oh, for sure.
How do you see that playing out practically? I'm genuinely interested in the technicalities of that.
Sure. Just in the digital space in general.
Where's their value to be offered, I guess?
I think cars are just a part of American culture, you know? And whether it's like a 67 Corvette or whatever, you know? People are interested in like buying things and acquiring things that show off their aesthetic and what they value. And so I don't think that'll change from physical to digital. Maybe the car doesn't need wheels because that's not necessary for the functionality of it, you know? So it actually gets more creative on what you can do with the aesthetic because you're not having to worry about gas mileage and things like that. So I could see people getting really wild with the designs, but I'm sure there's people...
It's like you'll sell it like art, really.
Yeah.
Right? As a piece of art. Almost.
For sure. I mean, that's the function of a lot of like old Corvettes and things like that now. It's an art piece.
Right.
It's an homage to the culture.
Cool, makes sense to me. We'll touch more on the digital sphere. First, we'll talk about what we're doing in the creative underground. What I'm trying to do. Of course, the slogan is we talk about what we create and why. But the purpose for why we do that is to transform. Talk about each other's stories. Think about triumphs, losses, and hopefully everybody learns a little bit about each other's process, and we can learn how to make better things because of that. We can transform, become better creators. So Connor, touch briefly on like, you know, where you were before Glockner, the first day at Glockner, and how you got to where you are now, where you're in, and where you're more valuable. Why did you become more valuable?
Well, a lot of this origin story just starts with Aubrey and I getting married, because I view that as kind of the most powerful milestone in my life. So just obviously you and I didn't spend a single day apart together for like 18 years, which is interesting. And we both were inclined to be creative, which I think lended itself to our development, just like bouncing ideas off each other all the time, bantering all the time, going through our first couple of years at Shawnee together, and just desiring to create things. But when Aubrey and I got married and we moved to Portsmouth, I feel like the narrative at the time, especially because we were like so young, was I think most people were convinced that we were going to fail, you know, and the opinion is different now. Like, and Dad was just telling me that the other day. He's like, man, he was just open about the fact that he's like, this, you know, I've seen this before kind of thing. Like I was in a few young relationships in this. But
that and the hard Scrabble that was going on in Portsmouth at the time.
Yeah. But you know, Aubrey and I kind of set out to do it, and like I remember my first inclination, like the first fire under my ass, so to speak, to design something was like, I need to make rent, and I'm just like working at the Student Success Center while I'm going to school while we were going to school at the time, and I need to find a way to make my rent. So I remember walking out of the house and just riding my bike or longboarding or something down to the lofts, which had just opened, and trying to figure out if I could be of service to them. I just saw that they had chalkboards. I was into like the hand lettering thing, and I just talked to Terry Ackerman, just kind of like negotiated with him, and like let me give this a shot, right? Your monthly specials or whatever drink you have for the week that you want to push. And he gave me a chance to do it, which was pretty cool.
Susan was saying just the other day that, because I'm updating the prices on the menu, she said just the other day that, yeah, Connor sold me good on this board in here. Actually, Mary was just like, the grandson of Don Sherman, he's going to do the boards. And Susan's like, I don't think we really need that. I don't know if we really need that. And then she saw what you did, and it was like, it was clear to her, she was saying.
Right.
But yeah, you were doing all kinds of boards all over the spot, like chalkboards.
Yeah, Tyler Malt let us do some stuff for the brewing company. We both went in one day and did some chalk art and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is, like, a lot of people view creatives as just like space cadets. You know what I mean? They're off in the fringe doing whatever while everybody else is being like functioning citizens of society. Like the tortured artist kind of picture of things.
Very familiar with it.
But, but my most creative endeavors started from a point of necessity and like needing to provide value to and support my family. First starting with just Aubrey being like a newly married couple and wanting to make something of myself. And then going to Glockner was out of complete necessity as well. I was working at the print shop for a while and learned a lot there. But there was a baby on the way, and it sounds melodramatic as a narrative, but
nah.
Me and Aubrey were sitting in the living room. We had just bought this house in Mountain View, and the living room's completely empty. We haven't paid for furniture or anything like that yet. And it's like 9 o'clock at night. I got back late from doing something, like some kind of commission work. And Aubrey's like sitting on the couch, and she's like 6 months pregnant, and was like, dude, what are we going to do? Like, we need to make more money than what we're currently making, And that was like the inflection point for me, where I'm like, all right, I'm going to make some calls and just try to see what I can get into. I don't even care what I get into. I'm just going to pursue providing for my family. And I felt like, honestly, that sounds like a scary step, like, the whole abandoning your dreams to just make more money.
Yeah, that's the whole story, right?
Yeah. But it didn't feel like that at the time. It was really like, I'm going to fulfill this obligation, and I feel good pursuing this, And so, honestly, I had done like a little bit of creative work for Glockner, like before I worked for them full time. Myself and a couple other guys were like doing some social ads and stuff like that for them, like trying to put some campaigns together. I was kind of like playing around with digital marketing on top of designing for a lot of people and doing the third and court thing and stuff like that. And I got my foot in the door at Glockner, and at the same time, it's funny because there's an overlap between these things. Like, I was also watching that series Abstract on Netflix.
Oh yeah, definitely. The Chrysler guys putting cars together, and then
there's
a guy that does Time magazine covers, stuff like that.
There's people that are like designing in all these different domains, but one that like really struck me and spoke to me was Massimo Vanelli, that designed like the identity system for the New York subway. Those real nice Helvetica letters on top of like big, bold colored circles. And just like, it's an iconic part of New York today, what it looks like in the subway, all the signage and stuff like that. But he has this pretty infamous quote, which I latched onto, which is like, if you can design one thing, you can design anything. And so I went into Glockner, and my job was like internet sales. I was making phone calls and sending emails and sending text messages at like a high volume to try to set appointments for people to come by. And
buy cars?
Yeah, But I went into it with the mindset of a designer. Like, can I design the customer experience in a way that is more pleasurable and gets people to want to buy? Can I write out my script and design this email blast and et cetera, to create more demand or get people excited about buying with Glockner specifically. And that mindset and seeing that it worked, that was like the wildest thing. Like I had never really taken my design work and applied it to like qualitative data, like how many people bought something or gross profit or things like that. But when I saw the connection between those things, that wasn't really the first time in my life where I was like, oh my gosh, art has like inherent value. It's not just subjective to what people think. Sometimes like a lot of art is subjective, like when it goes for auction and things like that, but there's like a qualitative piece to this that immediately
quick interjection.
Yeah,
I was just listening to a definition of art from Jonathan Peugeot. JD Bentley and I always nerd out about him, but
oh cool,
he was JD sent me the link. Peugeot said that art is literally means like the good arrangement of things. That is what it means. And so can you order a process or an experience for people?
Right.
Yeah, it's not flat things looked on the wall. That's more of like a postmodern idea than anything. Like art divorced from practical application and reality and craft. That's actually a very modern thing.
Wow. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
But keep going.
Yeah, I was just realizing that design, my ability to design, was kind of my superpower within the organization. And, I owe a lot to the Glockners that they were at least open-minded to the idea of like having someone like me on board. I was fulfilling a role. I was setting appointments, and
there was an open position or something.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There happened to be an open position. I didn't even know that when I applied. I got lucky basically. But they were open to the idea of like having someone like me on board, and then behind the scenes, the 6 months that I was doing that, they were essentially like grooming me for a bigger role, and I didn't realize that at the time. You know what I mean? I had no idea that they were wanting me to.
Did they know they needed something like that? Did they know they needed a brand person?
Yeah, I think Tim Glockner did, like specifically, because the boys, the family, like Tim Glockner and Mike Glockner and Joe, who are the vice presidents and presidents of the enterprise. They all handle like different facets of the organization. So Tim does everything sales related. Mike does everything fixed operations, like servicing your car and oil changes and stuff like that. And then Joe does everything finance related, financing heavy equipment and this kind of things. But I think Tim recognized that it would be powerful to have like a company creative essentially. And yeah, like I said, I had no idea that role existed, or that was even that was even like on his radar. But I think maybe he started to connect the pieces more, and we started to like snowball into the role that I'm currently in, because I was like showing the connection between good design and gross profit essentially. Which sounds kind of cold, but there's definitely like a relationship between art and business. And I forget, I think it was on a Clubhouse call or something. I had like a big kick with that app, but it's all, like, behind me at this point. Kind
of made an account. I'm not going to act like I was above
it. But like one of the people on one of those calls, Chris Delaney, that's the guy's name. He was talking about how like people need to understand the difference between their inherent value as a person and their market value, because there's a large difference. Yeah.
No, you got to figure out what your position is in the hierarchy.
Right, because it's easy, and I was humbled by my need to provide for my family and be pragmatic, and in the best way possible. It's definitely the best thing that ever happened to me was to balance myself with a creative and have a wife and children. You know what I mean? Like, it's just made my life significantly more valuable. And but the what I was saying is, when Chris said that, I think it kind of made me think about how I would get those things confused, and creatives often do get those things confused. Like, well, I'm worth more than this person wants to pay me, but you may just not be the right product market fit, or you're not, like, what you offer may not solve their problem in the right way that's going to provide them a return, Yeah. And people don't understand art and design until it starts fixing their problems, which most people it does. Like, they do realize that at some point, you know.
No, that's a crazy way to put it. They don't realize the power of it until it actually gives them some return in life.
Yeah, sure.
So I say just keep going with your personal story though. How do you get into a position? How did the position open up for you finally? Okay, what were you doing, and then how did the position open up for you?
Yeah, I think Tim was looking to like delegate more of his responsibilities because he's super multifaceted. Like, as brand manager, I'm like a super generalist basically. So I'm designing, whether it be literal graphic design or better spreadsheets that are connecting departments and measuring KPIs, you know, like Matt Crane was talking about that one time. He's like, even as a designer, you make the prettiest spreadsheet and people like it. I was like, that's a good point, man.
I saw that notepad background you sent in the Discord. That was next level.
But essentially that, and assisting like online to in-store processes and transactions and making sure that customers are like having a good experience when they cross all those different domains of the business. So.
But one day, basically, they said they were upfront with their intentions of what kind of position they wanted to go in.
Yeah.
Or did you kind of have to figure out what you were doing day to day when you got there, because that role didn't exist before? Like how you were supposed to be spending your time and stuff during the day, and then...
Yeah, Tim and I like talked about it pretty extensively. Just what he felt like I could be doing that would provide value, and what we actually needed done. You know, like a lot of my rhythms now, I work with the BDC, which is like the internet salespeople, the job that I was doing when I started there. So just helping them refine their processes and like pace for the month to make sure that they're hitting their goals, and providing good customer service with like the emails and stuff that they send out, informing them of our marketing efforts and how that's going to affect to them, what specials there are for the month, those kind of things. And then designing the creative that's like bringing people into the acquisition part of the funnel and pushing them down to speak to a live person. So there's people. So it's like really kind of very broad set of responsibilities where I'm tying all these different pieces of the business together that essentially create like your corporate image, you know? Like when you go to Chick-fil-A and like feel so good about how they treated you, well, that's not like an accident. You know what I mean? There's like a lot of corporate trainers and spreadsheets and and
values written down and coached. And
exactly. And so like all those qualitative things create the company culture, right?
I had this idea in my mind too that you were doing things like trying to sell cars and having some sort of automated car sales process. I mean, that's part of the... You might have just said that. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're okay.
Did you learn how to sell cars in an automated way, and you like set up the easy path and stuff? Is that some ways that you could bring in value for Glockner?
Right. Yeah. There's like, it's called digital retailing in the automotive space, which is essentially like, you know, there's like this real lofty idea that you would sell everything online, or it's just like you know, there's like, it's completely personless, and you know, it's like buying I don't know, like ordering something off Amazon essentially. Yeah. Like car buying is usually a little more complicated than that, and even in Carvana you're like visiting a location and having 7 calls with real people and you know, all that stuff, because it's just, there's so much involved. It's a really large purchase, and there's like a lot to consider essentially. Yeah. So,
but you
the
were
idea
helping set up some of that process at Glockner?
Yeah, the idea with digital retailing is that you basically like provide all the information for people up front, where car dealers, which is not a novel idea now. We were really kind of like the first organization to kind of step our foot out and do it here locally, and maybe even in the tri-state, like 100-mile radius. Glockner is kind of the cutting edge of that, which is why we branded the Easy Path thing.
Yeah.
And the idea is like you can see all your taxes and fees, all the information, calculate your payment all in one place and make it faster, more efficient, have like a customer journey already laid out so that makes it easy on people, and not hide anything.
I was looking at a lot of that one before I bought the little HRV out there.
Right. And so it's kind of counterculture to that, like car dealer, you know,
keep your cards close to your chest.
Kind of be sneaky, pressure people, kind of philosophy, you know?
Yeah.
Which and like the internet and things like Amazon have taught people that they don't have to do business that way, you know,
or that they can't because then they'll get bad reviews or something, right?
Exactly.
Like people catch on eventually.
Right. So in our efforts to continue to succeed by serving, you have to meet the customers where they're at, what they want, you know.
No, that's good. Okay. Additionally to that, some more business philosophy stuff. How does things like starting a beer brand and having a podcast that probably take a lot of time for you, how does that give a return to your business? And can all businesses do things like that?
Yeah.
Or is it something that, since Glockner, you know, that is it cynically like this is the icing on the cake? Now we can care about the community because we have like the capital to invest in it. You know, how should a small brand think about creating community and going that extra mile when they're just trying to pay bills or whatever?
Well, there's an argument to be made that like before you design a logo or something like that you should be able to bring somebody to the point of sale. You know what I mean? Like that's an important foundation of whatever the small business is or whatever your efforts are. Like how you're going to fund this. How is this going to be sustainable? You know, and that's just a part of like the business of art, right?
Yeah.
And so the two interplay, like culture and commerce. I mean, there's a massive overlap. Like they almost blend together. You know, the Venn diagram is almost completely overlapping into one circle because they affect each other so much, right?
Yeah.
But the culture doesn't exist. Like our CFO Jim Donnelly says it all the time. You cannot have a mission without a margin. And I thought that was an interesting idea. You know, you can kind of like propagate your ideas out there. But if you're wanting to make a real impact, you're going to have to find funding from somewhere. You know, because that's
sure. Mm-hmm.
And like not that ideas in themselves can't be extremely impactful, they are, but from a business perspective, if you're trying to be a creative and start a business where you get to be creative, you know, like a margin's going to fund that. So I think maybe, I don't know, Bernard Glockner, when he started the hardware business in the late 1800s, probably wasn't thinking about a podcast. No, he was like a.
Well, what I'm trying to get at is like, why is that valuable? And everyone knows that it gives something, but we are bad at articulating things. So why have you found that it's valuable?
Here, my purpose in starting the podcast was like I grew tired of just like short social interactions and everyone kind of like perceiving our brand that way, because we were getting like a lot of new attention on social media with just like our involvement in the things that we were doing with the community. The Glockners were like I'm like part of like a bigger story than me, like the multi-generational, 6-generational family business. I was basically not satisfied with like the really short conversations and exchanges we were having on social. I felt like there was like a lot we couldn't say about who we were and why people should do business with us, but also why people should just like us as people. You know what I mean? Why we can find other creatives and like push the culture forward, not just like bring people to the point of sale.
And I think it's probably because you were seeing that. You know the stories more and more of these people as you're around them. You're like, wow, there's a rich history here. This is really cool. People should know about this.
Right, exactly. And it's like cool conversation points to help them be successful too. Like, you know, cars are like so integrated into our life and business that it has a lot to do with other people's life and business. You know what I mean? So there's enough of an overlap there to justify to start like having conversations. And I'm not saying it wasn't a risk. It's definitely a risk, a time risk. Something may go wrong, or like the project may just sour to where you like go on to focus on other things. But the biggest connection I've seen in just making one-on-one connections is like people's faith seems to be renewed, or their kind of assumptions are knocked away about what we're doing at Glockner, and also just the overarching story of the community in general. Like, you know, the goal of the podcast setting out, and probably for any podcast you start, is not like immediate monetization. Like, it's definitely a marathon, and the Glockners are a marathon business. You know what I mean? They sacrifice margin all the time to basically make long-term plays that benefit the community. You know, they could take all this money. You got to think about stuff like this because it's pretty wild. Like, the more you think about what their options are, you know, if they have say like $100 million and just as a
cash sitting there.
Yeah. If there's like $100 million that could go to like benefiting the community, it could also just go straight into the stock market and make them richer, And so they defer options like that to invest in their basically like their community, their customer base, and see as they thrive, then like their theory is that Glockner will continue to thrive, and it will last way past their lifespan,
Oh man, I was just listening to okay, this is Peterson. I will dogmatically refer to Peterson. He was saying that Henry Ford expanded the consumer base by paying people enough on the assembly line to afford a car.
Yeah.
Or what I'm saying is like he knew directly that if he gave money to those people or invested in those people, their quality of life would improve. They'd want to do business with them. They could afford to do business with them.
Right. And so, yeah, that's really, that's like a relational business model where, you make people, you're not just trying to manipulate people into buying something. You're making their life better. And therefore, like, it makes sense for them to support your business. It's like, it makes sense to like, when your friend, like your good friend, starts something new or starts a new business, you're like dying to go buy something from them. It's really that pure of a thing, just to like chop it up with them and have a few laughs and be their first customer.
So fun, man.
Yeah, and so the same kind of thing, that is the strength of a local economy, is like you can really get behind and get to know the people you're doing business with, and the podcast is essentially like an extension of that. And then also like showing the outside world just through telling these real town success stories, who we actually are, what the narrative is, and kind of accelerate this this inflection point that we're at, this renaissance that we're a part of. The Glockners are very tied into the renaissance of Portsmouth, Ohio, just like so many other people in the community are.
For sure, I've directly benefited from that.
But like, and then there's like pleasant surprises along with that. I mean, do people come in and say, "Hey, we listen to the podcast and buy a car"? Yeah, like it happens.
Right.
You know what I mean? But is that like would I have started a podcast if that was the immediate and only goal? No, there are like quicker ways to drive people to the dealership.
It's in all these questions. You don't got to convince me. It's helpful because I don't know. You don't got to convince me. Refer back to episode 3. The best story wins. But like these things are hard to articulate. Things that are not quantifiable. Why it's valuable if other people are doing well. Well, that means that there's not enough well doing for me or something.
Yeah.
That it's so easy to think like that. It's no wonder people do.
For sure.
So it's cool to hear returns you get from that and how you think about it. What's this NFT thing you're doing with Dale? Can you bring it back to the digital space for a minute?
Yeah, Dale and I.
What does that mean? What's an NFT?
An NFT is a non-fungible token.
What does that even mean, Connor?
It is.
Fungible? What the world? I don't have a definition for it.
Same, dude. But essentially, it is like something attached. It's an asset attached to the blockchain, right? Which is like immovable and irreplaceable and uneditable is like physical reality, which is
Connor,
interesting.
what is the blockchain?
Blockchain is basically like it's really secure code, essentially.
Right, super secure. Like one person with a computer would never ever be able to unearth whatever that code is, right?
But yeah, essentially you'd buy an NFT to like prove that in a digital space where anything is replicatable, like you can replicate a JPEG 100 million times.
That's what trips people out is you can screenshot the NFT. They could go to your Instagram right now, see the NFTs that you have for sale, and screenshot it.
Yeah, it's basically like proof of scarcity in like unimaginable quantity,
Yeah.
And so, like a trading card or something like that. You know what I mean?
But with you and Dale, you guys are. Is this something you see as? It's obviously a softball question. I'm sorry. Is this something you see as like just another opportunity for a market in Appalachia, like just showing people what's possible doing in a small town?
Yeah, Dale and I were just like excited about the technology and wanted to just introduce it to our, like a hyperlocal context. Really, I mean, and that's the thing. NFTs in general, there's just like a lot of nefarious characters and stuff hanging around that scene because it looks like such a quick cash grab, you know? But if you're generally excited about the technology, which is the thing you should be excited about, like the idea of blockchain and all the implications of that, that's really the real thing to explore. So Dale texted me, actually, and was like, let's just prove that we can do this. I was like, cool, let's do it. And we uploaded a Richmond NFT the next day, just because that was, it was like a context that people locally would immediately understand, and just like, there would be less focus on that and more focus on what is actually happening with the tech that would kind of get people interested in it. Also, interestingly enough, there's like apparently a few people that are also excited about the technology here locally, because someone made an offer on that NFT the first day it was available, which is for like, you know, 0.5 ETH, which was like $200. But it was definitely very interesting realization. It made it real fast.
Definitely.
How these transactions work. And, yeah.
That's cool. Do you have any interest in crypto? Like, do you think you should have something? Is that something you should invest in the future?
Yeah, definitely. Like, it can provide no financial advice. Disclaimer. Cody Stapleton like burst through the door. Like,
wait a minute, hold on there.
I love Cody. Shout out Cody. I haven't seen him forever.
Crazy wealth, bro.
Yeah. But really, my interest is in the tech. I almost have no interest in crypto as like a way to invest. You know what I mean? I have. Actually, my dear friend Christopher Mock handles my portfolio of goods.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so I'm like, I think he does a great job with Edward Jones.
Right on, bro. Shout out to Chris.
Yep.
Okay. A few external things. What role does exercise play in your life? I mentioned in the beginning that PSKC is like a really cool place. I benefit a lot from that place. I like that place. How is exercise something that you've integrated in your life? What's it mean to you?
PSKC was also, just as a small tangent, was like a big point of origin, kind of the big bang far as us getting involved with people here in Portsmouth. So definitely. I just love that.
Us on 100%.
Yeah, no doubt. Just getting to paint the whole building black was good stuff. I still remember Dale running around the office and like yelling "paint it black." It was just a fun energy.
Let the garage doors roll up every morning about 6:30, 7 a.m. and then just blaring the stones, bro.
Yeah. But that's cool. Exercise.
The historical building committee just hearing it on the horizon.
Yeah. Terry Ackerman driving by in his white van.
The black mass is rising, bro.
Yeah. Exercise plays a very important part in my life, not only just with my self-image and wanting to be capable and things like that, but I feel like it just kind of keeps me sane. Especially, you know, like being in such a digital focused role. You know, it kind of just starts to hurt your eyes and your soul staring at a screen for so long.
You gotta keep the blood flow in the brain moving, bro. Doesn't it just clear you out when you're embodied again, you're physical?
Yeah, there's you untap a different level of potential, I feel, if your mind and body are also kind of in tune. Yeah. So, you know, lift something heavy, drink water, probably not in that order.
For sure. No, that's cool. And you, what a cool community that they've created there, because, I don't know, there's so many local business owners. Everybody just wants to be productive and work hard. Yeah. And do that in the gym, too. It's really fun.
Also a memorable moment at Glockner with Dale King. So all these worlds are kind of crossing. And the Glockners, you know, are real involved in PSKC as well. So I enjoy our overlap in life, that they understand these kind of things, you know. But I remember Dale in the conference room, and we had him one morning at the end of the department head meeting to just kind of give his Dale rant, you know, to start the new year. And I remember him, I swear he was looking directly at me, although he'd probably deny it. He's like, listen, you need to sleep and you need to exercise or you're going to die. Well, you know, Dale's like extra, you know, he's kind of just a grand person, like in the way, grandiose person, the way that he says things. But it really got the point across. And like at the time, I was 20 pounds heavier than I am now, and was not taking care of myself, was like really sacrificing my sleep and my well-being to just, like grind a little harder, I guess. But, that's not sustainable, essentially. And so exercise is a part of that stability, just to kind of like knock you back into the real world, especially, it doesn't have to be like incredibly strenuous exercise. There's actually no correlation. I don't know where I saw this stat, but it's real. There's no correlation between the intensity of your exercise and how long you live, but there is a correlation between how much you walk and how long you live.
That's
which
crazy.
Is interesting. Yeah, like how many get your steps in kind of thing, which is like...
I'm going to have you run that by Greg Glassman, bro.
But intensity of exercise is really good. But what I'm saying is, like, you just got to move. You got to stay moving. You got to engage in the physical world. And that is going to help you sustain your efforts longer, for sure. For sure. That's so cool. I know Nick, you're like, I'm speaking to someone who's farther along in this exercise journey than me, dude.
Really? You think so?
Yeah.
Bro, you're moving more metal than me, all right? I like to just get after it, but
you're a maniac. I tell everybody that Nick just works out in the dark by himself. I mean, he's literally a maniac. And they're like, what's impressive about that is just the solitude of it. Like, for most people, including myself, dulls the intensity. Like, you're not able to... Sure. But then you came into the gym at Free Week like a couple weeks ago and just smashed us all at the WOD that we were doing, which was like 10-to-1 ladder of thrusters and toes to bar. And you just look unbothered with those movements, and so, which is a testament to how intense your training regimen is, even in solitude. So that's a very interesting thing to me, that you can maintain that level of intensity and kind of build up your physical endurance like that by yourself. That's an extra level of discipline, I think. Well,
thank you. Yeah, one, it's out of necessity. Some, like you said, like it really does clear my mind. It really very much helps if you're working hard to try to stay sane and be physically embodied and switch between states of mind.
Yeah.
But the second thing is I was so wrecked after that workout, Connor, that we did at PSKC, bro. Another Dale King quote. You can't be a part-time CrossFitter. You can't do it, because it's like. I don't know what it was about just loading certain ways, or I'm in the environment and so I'm super stimulated and I'm like want to go as hard as I possibly can go. You pay for it a little bit, but anyway, Connor, what do you think happens? Wait, hold on. Let me see, where do I want to go with this? Can you bring it home with like what your overarching business philosophy is now, life philosophy? Do those things overlap? Is there such thing as work-life balance, or are you integrated? Do you try to think about how you integrated? How do you think about how you work and how you live?
Sure. Nicholas, I'm sure you also pull from this resource, but I'm a big fan of family teams with the Bethkes. From Jefferson Bethke, and kind of like the content that he puts out. But anyway, Aubrey and I went to it's called Family Teams Conference in Cincinnati like 2 years ago. And that was like a big point of revelation to me, to where, I feel like before I got in the context of, establishing a multi-generational vision and like working your family as a team, it sounds kind of cliche, but like what I was noticing in my own life was like, I loved my family and felt I was investing in my family, but it was basically like, all right, like I'm going to work, get out of the way so I can go accomplish these things, and you guys can just like tag along, basically. And realizing that, that's just like kind of that's kind of just part of American culture, is I feel like we're trying to like sedate our kids and put a screen in front of them so they kind of like leave us alone while we do our adult things, But I was telling somebody about how like our older sister Amber and stuff, I mean, always when we would come down here, and even our mom and grandparents like were very wanted to engage with us, you know what I mean? They wanted to put us on and show us new things. And like I was saying, Amber, like showed us cool art and things like that and let us play D&D with our older friends, and they all kept it as PG as possible. You know what I mean? Like those kind of things to kind of put us on and not gatekeep us from like the real world,
Yeah.
But my point is I feel like we can either view our kids as an inconvenience and sedate them while we do something else, or we can like bring them to the table with us, and kind of start to put like, I love when Ollie's sitting by me and drawing on my iPad. Like that makes me happier than anything.
Be reminded. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so that's kind of my goal. Is like obviously there's moments where you have to like the majority of my work life is me by myself, but if I'm sitting at the table and doing something for work or just for a personal project or whatever, I try to like bring Ollie into that whenever it's appropriate, and give her the chance to kind of see into this creative world and play with me. Like if I'm in a state of play, you know what I mean, include her in that and then engage her in her state of play. And I feel like that's how
has that brought you seeing that when she does it,
I'm sorry, say that again.
How has it helped you when you see her do that? Like her make things like making things.
Yeah, just like realizing her potential for sure. Like just realizing how smart she is and feeling like, man, this is way bigger than me. Like everything I do is affecting how she's going to view the world and her ideology, and how it's like absolutely crucial that I view the world as me being like guiding her and setting her up for life, because nobody else is going to. You know what I mean? The school doesn't do that. That's not their responsibility. The church doesn't do that. That's their responsibility. It's the parents' responsibility to bring a child along, and kind of help unleash their potential. And so, I feel like, Nick, you can relate to this, because I feel like I remember being like 12 years old and walking down Woodland Heights in Sciotoville and hearing the train in the morning and stuff, and that's where all our family was at the time, both our grandparents, and we all stayed at the same house together that my grandparents had built, and Sally and Patrick and like everybody being up on that hill and just feeling like, man, I want to be here. I like want to be in Portsmouth. I want to participate in this. And I didn't know what that feeling was, but I feel like now looking back, that feeling was like drawing from our multi-generational family vision, that my grandfather set something up that made us feel included and showed us kind of the lineage of like, I accomplished these things and you can, and then your parents accomplish things and then you can accomplish things, and we can kind of like carry on these higher values together, like that this is multi-generational. And I wanted to participate in that narrative. I just couldn't articulate it at the time, And so like I want Ollie to be a part of that narrative, and Sonny and Aubrey and I like build that narrative for them together, So that permeates every facet of life, business, play, extracurricular kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's so awesome. On that on that note, on the legacy note, I sent that picture of Gramps' grave to everybody in the group chat, to Dad and Grace and Amber and you. And I was thinking about that same thing. I get that haunting feeling almost every morning when I walk Milo up the hill, just hearing the train and thinking about what is our place here, and how did the people that were before us set us up for this, and how are we going to set the next people up and stuff. And that's more obvious for you with kids right now. But what do you hope for Ollie and Sonny and however many children you guys have? Like, how do you hope that they that you can set them up? And I guess I don't know what's the best way to ask this question. What do you hope for your kids and your legacy? I know it. Listen, we're 28 years, 27, 28.
Sure, but these are heavy questions you got to think about and try at least to answer or find an origin point.
For sure. Because this is all going somewhere. The cool thing is we're all still in the transformation. We're all still in the transformation, and this is going somewhere, and it can go a really bad place, or it can go a place that's more good than we can imagine, and makes us, justifies our existence. So what are you trying to, how are you trying to do that?
I want my girls to feel capable and know where they're identity is rooted in, you know. Not necessarily just like build a skill set to have a career or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's really just to know that their identity is firmly rooted in Christ, and like I think everything is kind of built on that. You know?
Yeah,
and
we have to know what story we're in for sure. We have to know what I don't know why we're here and what we're doing, why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah. But for sure to make them feel like that they're participating in a narrative that's bigger than themselves, both in like what like Christ's work for us, what our future is, and then also like what they're supposed to do on this earth. You know, I don't think that there's going to be like an immediate outline of what their life's going to look like. That's impossible. You know.
Yeah.
That they feel oriented and prepared for life struggles, and that they have people that love them, and that we're on the same team. It's not like mom and dad do one thing and now you have to like refigure this whole thing out. You know, and that's a cool part of what overlaps in my the business that I do, and what inspires me is like I think that's why the Glockner family's been so successful in their business, is they have kind of cast that vision for every generation and let people know, let their successors know that it's bigger than just a margin, right? That they do have a mission, and that's something that they can participate in. Not like there's this giant surmounting pressure to fit a mold of what like the rest of the family's already done, but essentially that like they feel oriented and ready to take on life's challenges and live purposefully. But
well said, bro.
I would say my current career aspirations is to like continue to create things that like applies to the broader narrative, that like a narrative that other people want to participate in. So whether it's like the podcast telling real small town success stories that is like initially hyper local and then might affect people that live in similar contexts, or Appalachia, or like people that are young like us and trying to do something in a rural environment. But not just with the podcast, just with the advertising, the design and stuff like that I do, to not for my intention to not be perceived as just manipulation, like another sale or another coupon, but essentially that we're creating content that other people want to participate in. And I think that's a much more powerful thing, you know.
100% it is, dude.
And that's the kind of stuff that lasts. You know, data will be forgotten. Like, I don't know, you know, what my grandfather, basically what his margins look like on his checkbook, you know. Yeah. But I do know, like, the values that he propagated to me. And it's like, my granddad, I'm sure you can relate, like, was the person that I was always trying to model, even when I didn't understand it. Like, that guy was my hero. Like, he just seemed like a hero to me, you know?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to emulate that in some way. And it was those values, that multi-generational family vision, that I ultimately, like, came to understand more. And those are the things that were passed on, like those conversations, those stories, not necessarily data on the checkbook.
What did that, on that topic a little bit, what did that do for you when you were able to make that concrete and share Gramps' story on in your podcast, bro?
I mean, I definitely felt more direction, but also I think it like broadened the context as well for the people that listen. Not only that they could hear Gramps' legacy, but just the realization that there is like a beautiful narrative that we can all participate in here in the community. You know, not everyone is a story writer or wants to create stories, but like I think everyone wants to pass through them, be a part of them. That's how we kind of view the world.
Yeah. I think that isn't it weird when we start talking about this stuff that it almost always gets theological? Like when you start thinking about, what did the people that are dead now? They're dead.
Yeah.
But how can I take what they did and bring it forward, and I'm going to die, but how can we make this almost live on forever?
Yeah.
Like, how can we do that? And my suspicion is that it does live on forever. But I think that's so cool when it's when there is an entity like Glockner that not only has the capital to make really cool projects happen, but does the most meaningful possible things they can do with it.
Right.
You know? And like telling Andy's story, telling Gramps' story, telling telling the story of Portsmouth and the redemptive story of that. Like, what more you can do? What more could you do? What more meaningful thing could you do? That's theological work right now. More right there. You're trying to bring a little slice of heaven here, and that's cool.
Agreed.
But anything else you want to say, Connor? Where can people find you? And are you excited about anything else? We gotta wrap this up.
Yeah, just Comeback City Kid on all platforms, and yeah, man, just excited to create things and things that last. Hopefully
for a very long time.
Yeah,
cool.
Very excited to contribute to the underground, but what you're doing with just the like reading the books and everything. I mean, you really take people on a wild ride and are like elaborating on ideas that can that have, just me personally, I'll speak for me personally, have helped me see my potential or issues in new ways, and I'm thankful for that. Just your ability to like to just jump into the fray and blaze a new trail like bar, you know, and then bring back your insights. And so you're a maniac, dude, and I love you for it.
Thanks, dude. It's all fun adventure for sure. Thanks, Connor.
Yeah, see you, man.